It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now. And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the PSGL season number 29, round number 8 here at the Shanghai International Circuit in China. My name is King Kodiak. I'll be one of your commentators throughout this evening's race. Joining me in the commentary box, I'm very glad to say, he's actually done more than I have of PSGL, of recent events. Very glad to have promoted to my side Mr. Aladar Jacob Hancock. Welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. I am even more excited to be here than you are to have me here. I'm delighted to be here, of course. Viewers will recognize my voice, hopefully, from last weekend, the Austrian Grand Prix. But today, this is our first time commentating together here for the Chinese Grand Prix today.
Indeed. So, Sam Bean still at the top of the championship table by quite a margin now. With 71 points. Paris Burrell has been a regular point scorer, but sadly that trend has been a little bit downwards. Won on his first time out in Zandvoort, but has not seen the top of the podium since. So Pietro Stalek has been promoted up to F1, so sadly we won't see him again in these lobbies unless he makes a stand-in for someone. I really hope he does, because he was so much fun to see, but a very well-deserved promotion. Get Owned in fourth. With the same amount of points as Stowlake had on his, before his promotion on 31 points, sits currently in fourth with Jeffrey Ritchie rounding out the top five. It's still very, very close, other than Sam Bean just running off with most of the silverware at the moment. Now, last time out we had Austria, which was a fantastic race. Jacob, what fun and frolics did we miss for those that didn't see it? I was actually just coming out of hospital when that actually happened, which is what my absence was for last time out, for which I apologise for. What can we expect, judging from what we saw last week? What can we expect this time around?
Yeah, you've got a rather watertight excuse for missing it. The same doesn't apply for any viewers who didn't see it, of course. But yeah, no, last time out, it was great fun. There was a lot of very, very frantic battling, I would say, throughout the field, throughout the race as well. It wasn't one of those occasions where you see these DRS trains from the beginning of the race until the first pit stops, and then after those first pit stops, that's when you usually see things really start to ignite in terms of on-track battling. Nothing of that sort in Austria. It was just straight away aggression from the start to the finish. Everyone who could gain a position tried to gain a position, and it made for fantastic viewing. And then to top it all off, right towards the end, the rain started to come down, about 5 laps left to go in Austria. One of the shortest lap, of course, on the calendar as well. And so that made it really, really tricky in terms of decision-making for the drivers. A few of them did go in for intermediates. In the end, it didn't quite pay off, but about 10 seconds more, and it would have done. Tom Martinez was the leader of the ones who went for the intermediates. He finished down the order in 5th position. But again, with about 3 more corners, he wins that race. It was an absolutely fantastic end to just an all-around great race.
Yeah, Austria is one of those tracks that always generates amazing racing. Despite the fact it is one of the shortest laps on the calendar, it is a circuit that is just fabulous as a driver and a spectator. Now, I must admit, it's been a while since I've done any commentary on Shanghai, but I adore this track from a spectator standpoint. I'm not experienced in driving it. Jacob, do you have much experience from a driver standpoint in F1 2021?
Not so much in F1 2021, actually. A little bit, of course. But in general, as a track, it can be difficult to drive because, of course, turns 1 and 2 and then turns 3 as well, they're very not obvious. They're very different from other sorts of corners you reach. You know, the only other comparable complex in the whole of the F1 calendar, or what used to be on the F1 calendar, was Malaysia, and that's gone now as well. So really, China does have a bit of an odd one out in terms of its first sector, and that can make it a little bit difficult, a little bit less obvious to work out how exactly to drive the circuit. But in terms of watching it, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic.
Okie dokie. So let's have a quick look at the overall map then. This is what we have to look forward to. 16 turns, 5.5 kilometers of really, really intense action. Not all that many overtaking opportunities, but one of the longest straights in the entire F1 calendar. We'll see some action down at a big slipstream opportunity, and equally big, great opportunity, overtaking opportunity at the end of that straight. So we're just waiting for the drivers to all get into session, and then we will get this first qualifying session underway. A few people asking, is Jan Watmir driving? Not in this one, but we will hopefully see him in F1 tomorrow. No sooner did I say that, then we are heading trackside. So then, so we've got 16 of our usual 20 drivers. Now, like I say, there have been a few driver changes going on. So sometimes, that happens where, sometimes we'll see some people and sometimes not. We do have the F1 tomorrow, so that's where the big hitters will be coming out to play. But this is the F2 lobby, which has still some incredible talent within it. Don't get me wrong, these are amazing drivers we are going to be seeing, very much stars of tomorrow. So as we head down trackside, I'm just going to kill the background music going on, otherwise we'll get into trouble. Before we head trackside, right, starting in a few seconds. Now, what's the weather going to do? Now, we don't know what the weather forecast is. We never do. And that looked bone dry to me.
Yeah.
Right. So all of the elements on. I prefer. Now I know some people like or dislike the map. Wow, someone's keen to get on with it. And sometimes, 17 drivers joining us. Who has come out first? I didn't quite see who that was. We'll see.
I believe that's Antoine Desaluski, actually. The Frenchman is going to be the first one out onto the track in the Mercedes.
Good spot. So, my goodness, he's literally left everyone behind. So there we go. So it is indeed Antoine Desaluski. I always struggle with this one. My apologies. Desaluski. My apologies. Now, we're being told it's dry for both sessions. We will see if that is true. It's still great racing whether it is dry. Oh, there's a McLaren on the move. That's got to be Dylan Warren. It's the only McLaren we have got on the field. I've got one of my windows wrong. I knew I'd do this. My apologies. I am a little bit... like I said, I'm a little bit out of practice. Like I said, I was an unfortunate incident last week which actually saw me in hospital, so I am a little bit out of practice. I will get up to speed, I promise you. So there is Dylan Warren. Who's got what tyres on? He's come on the medium tyres, curiously. So he's having a cycle lap on the medium tyres. There's John Evans, otherwise known as Hawk or HX4K, as he's been seen. I'm sure he's not actually revving the nuts off the car in a second. Well, he might be, for all I know. But getting some heat into the tyres nonetheless. Let's see what Mr. Desaluski is doing. I'm sure I'm not getting that right. Antoine Desaluski. Sure, it sounds wrong in my head for some reason. He's on the soft tyres, just starting his first lap.
Yeah, I mean, it gets you close enough, right? Everyone knows who you're talking about, and that's what really matters. Antoine Desaluski beginning this first flying lap then of the qualifying session as he enters turn 1. Very much a sort of blind apex, or not, sort of a non-existent apex, really. The corner just goes on forever. It even becomes turn 2. And then turn 3 here. Very slippery traction zone on the exit of this one. As you can see, Antoine with a slight correction as the rear end tried to slide away from him on the exit of that one. But that's all all right. Nothing really going wrong for the Frenchman thus far. As he enters now turn 6, one of the 3 major overtaking opportunities at the circuit. And again, it all looked very smooth from on board with Antoine there. Didn't necessarily look like it was sort of setting the world alight in terms of speed, as it's unlikely to do at this early stage of qualifying. But in terms of how solid how smooth, how clean the lap is looking, it is looking pretty good right now. On the exit of turn 10, another really tricky corner with the traction there. And again, Antoine maybe had a tiny correction, but just really didn't seem to bother him too much. And that's always a good sign, especially when the track is this green this early on in qualifying.
Absolutely, as we just saw Jay Farage in the Alpine get out of the way. I love the comment in chat. I just say his first name because that's all I know how to pronounce. Fair, but I'm going to try and get the full name correct anyway, as we see Antoine Desilewski head down towards... I've got one of my windows wrong again. I really am out of practice. My apologies. That's going to cause the stream to go black. Down to turn 14. No Piotr Starlek. No, he's been promoted to the F1 tier, so we won't be seeing him tonight. So first time on the board is a 1:33.683. And we'll see if... now, there's a few people saying that that might actually be an AI lap. I'm not sure if he's actually driving that. Well, I mean, he doesn't look ghosted from that perspective, and he's not listed as AI as far as I can see. So you people can see what I can see here. If that is AI, then the AI is not done too badly with a 33.683. There is Jari Fitz in the Alfa Romeo. Where are you? You've just come out of turn 10, so he's on a hot lap. And Dylan Warren with a 31.894 on the medium tyres. Not bad at all. Where's the rest of the drivers? We don't know, is the honest answer to that. Not everybody can attend every single round, so it could be that we've had a few people that were unable to attend. As it's a simple case of if they can't attend, then if the reserves aren't available either, then sadly we have gaps in the field. So it's as simple as that. We don't always know where people are, as long as they're reported to the necessary authorities, which isn't us. We don't run the league. Oh, Jeffrey Ritchie. Good effort there. Jeffrey sits 5th position in the championship at the moment, just 1 point behind Getoned. Is Getoned with us? I'm not sure. Oh, yes, he is. He's not wearing his Shazoo tag anymore, I see. He's in the Haas. Curious. Maybe there's been a bit of a change there. But Jeffrey Ritchie with the soft tyres with the 1:31.392. That's not a bad time for Dylan Warren on the mediums.
Yeah, that medium lap time definitely looking decent. To put a little bit of extra context on it, that Antoine Desilewski lap might have been an AI lap. It did look sort of oddly smooth, I would say, from on board with him, and it wasn't terribly fast. Jari Fitz actually fully pulled off the throttle on the run towards the line as well. He was going a lot faster than that as Getoned now goes to the top. Jeffrey Ritchie's teammate making it a Haas 1-2. Clear at the top by over 0.3 as well. But it is interesting because we're seeing a few drivers, and I suspect Norberto then, Norbert Jakob, I suspect he and Jari Fitz have both done the same thing, where they've backed off before the start-finish line. Now, the reason you do that is so that you get a representative delta for almost the whole lap, so that when you go out again on medium tyres, you know whether your lap is going to be good enough or not. As long as you're reasonably within that sort of delta time around most of the lap, then you can commit to trying to set a lap time on mediums. But you don't want to accidentally go faster than you could ever go on mediums, so you have to back off just before the line, and that's what Norbert Jakob and Jari Fitz have done.
Oh, now we're starting to see some competitive lap times on the board. Andreas Dormeyer and Christian Hausmann separated by only 0.06 of a second with a 1:30.773 from the Red Bull and 1:30.838 from the Alfa Romeo. Very nicely done from Andreas Dormeyer and Christian Hausmann. One thing I have done in the past is compare where the pole times sit for the between F1 and F2, and it's sometimes very surprising that the pole time from F2, assuming the same conditions, of course, have sat well within the top 10 of the F1 podium, so F1 lobby. So it's very interesting to see how well our F2 drivers do in comparison to the very best that we see in the F1 lobby, which, as mentioned, we will be seeing tomorrow. Dylan Warren's still going. He's done 2 laps on those medium tyres. Now, he seems quite content to carry on lapping. 1:31.894, still his time on those medium tyres. But he's running light on fuel, so I suspect he's going to be coming in this time. What's he doing? Coming around turn 14, slight kick of the tail. Does the McLaren come in? I would imagine he will. Yes, he does. So, a bit light on the fuel tank. That is absolutely fair. Most people coming in. Tom Martinez is out there on the medium tyres in the Alpine. That was someone getting out of the way. That was one of the... must be Neon. Yeah. Yes, it was Neon that's yet to get the time on the board. Also on the interesting mixture of soft and medium runners that we're seeing at the moment. we'll see how well Tom Martinez does as he's coming around turn 14 and towards the line, down a few gears, chucks it through the top medium time still by Dylan Warren, that 31.894, and that is a new top medium time of 31.852. Wow, 0.04 of a second between Martinez and Dylan Warren.
Yeah, good times then early on for both of them. Dylan Warren on that in lap was going fractionally faster than his previous best, but it would have put him in and around the area that Tom Martinez's lap has just gone, as long as that third sector continued in the same vein as his first and second. So both of them relatively evenly matched at the moment, as we might come to expect from those two drivers who always tend to be there or thereabouts in the upper sort of point scoring positions. Interesting to note that Jari Fitz's abandoned lap that I was talking to you about earlier, his sector times in the first and second sectors had him about 0.2. Ooh,
sorry to cut you off there, Jacob. Neon has spun on the medium tyres down at turn 8 and has hit the wall. So he was pushing quite a bit on that one, but sadly the Red Bull is going to have to limp back to the pits. Apologies there, Jacob. You carry on.
No worries, not at all. If there's something like that happening, it's definitely right to prioritise that sort of thing. But yeah, as I was saying, Jari Fitz's lap, that was the aborted lap on soft tyres that he pulled off the throttle just before the line, he was about 0.2 of a second up on Andreas Dormeyer's current provisional pole time through the first two sectors. So Jari Fitz has a lot of pace here today as well. He didn't really show his hand with that first lap, but he did with the first two sectors. And by diving into the race director, I was able to dredge out that information. So Jari Fitz might be one to watch once things really get towards crunch time. His plan at the moment is very much to try and look to qualify with his best lap time on a set of mediums. Most of the drivers who went out on medium straight away probably aren't looking to start the race on that medium set of tyre, because usually you'd wait until the second or maybe even third tyre to go on in the session to be the tyre that you're hoping to do your best lap with. So the likes of Jari Fitz and Norbert Jakob, these are the guys that are really trying to start the race on the medium tyres.
As I went to select Neon's name, he just put a time on the board, but I think it's fair to say was not representative, because we did to see him have that spin. But he has gone again. No red fuel light on the Red Bull at the moment. That's following through the lap indeed. So we're coming into turn 6 now, down through the gearbox for one of the slowest points on the track. Head over to the right-hand side to start the twisties, as I call them, turn 7, 8, and 9. So he's going to start to bleed off the speed coming through turn 9. Now, this is where it went wrong for him before turn 8. I beg your pardon. Now, down to third gear briefly for turn 9. Sweep through turn 10. Don't run too far onto the AstroTurf on the right-hand side. Short straight down to turn 11. You can get some lovely side-by-side action here if you can get away, if you trust the person you're alongside. So you get the tail to twitch ever so slightly to help rotation of the car coming through that long turn 13. And who's that's getting out of the way? Well, I wondered if Neon was going to get a bit of a slipstream off the back of Jari Fitz there, but didn't quite commit to that. Down to the almighty great braking zone for the very slowest part of the circuit. Oh, a little bit deep there for Neon. Didn't quite get the apex as Villacampa jumps up to 9th with a 32.2. New pole time from John Evans, a 30.5. Stunning effort there in the Mercedes. What can Neon do? That's a 32.2 on the medium shot Red Bull.
Yeah, not a great lap from Neon there. He'll know there are a couple of very obvious mistakes he made. One of them you mentioned, going into the hairpin, just braking a little bit too late, getting too deep. He also locked up and drifted away from the apex pretty heavily in turn 9. And turn 9's a deceptive corner because you can lose a lot through there. And Neon did indeed lose about 0.2 of a second through there on that last lap around. So he will be frustrated with that lap, but at least he'll know where he can improve. There's at least sort of 3, maybe even 0.4 of a second of obvious improvement in that lap time.
So Kanakinchi was slightly sideways coming out of the final turn to start his lap. He's on the medium tyres. I just realised I had the best lap set on the graphic there. Apologies for that, as we watch Can going through turn 6 and chasing off after one of the Williams. That's either Louis Welch. We were talking about how to say this. Lewis Welch, who's got a 1:31.641 on the medium tyres. Now our best medium runner, or quickest medium runner so far. Whoa, again, the tail of that Aston Martin is all over the place as he's screaming down towards turn 11. A bit of a lock-up there coming into the left-hander now through turn 12. He's got one of the Alpines, I think, that is ahead of him. No, that's a Williams directly ahead of him. Who is it? It is Sam Bean. So has gotten out of the way, but is giving Can a bit of a slipstream. Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
There's nothing against it. Heavy on the brakes down to the gears. A lock up again coming into turn 14. There's so much braking force going through the car at that point. You can see by the steering input that it's still just, the car just does not want to behave itself at all. Oh, invalid on the final turn for Kanakinchi. Oh my goodness me, he'll be kicking himself for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, Ruben Pedreño was, well, he'd already invalidated it by then, so you may as well just fly off the road. So he's yet to get a time in the AlphaTauri as well. There's less than 4.5 minutes to go. So we're going to be getting into the Banzai phase, as I call it, the last few minutes of the session very, very soon.
Yeah, Ruben Pedreño actually, by running wide in that final corner, invalidated his next lap around as well. So he's really putting himself under the cosh a little bit right now. Chanakinchi also same story for the Turk, as that lap time would have been enough to set him between Tom Martinez and Lewis Welch. But unfortunately for Chan, that invalidation right at the very end. And also, in the middle sector, he was a solid 2/10 down on the likes of Welch and Martinez. So Chanakinchi, also a driver who, even though that was a very good medium tyre lap time, can find even more than that and will know where to find even more than that. Because there were a few moments that it was very, very obvious to see, when he was really struggling with that rear end through a couple of corners. If he cuts out those sorts of moments in that middle sector, he can go a lot faster. So he's definitely going to be another one that could be right up there. If he goes on to softs, he could be in the conversation, for pole position when we get to the end of this. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Samuel Bean. The top driver in the championship at the moment has been a little bit quiet this qualifying session, yet to register a lap time. And again, that was very deep there into the hairpin, and he's actually backed out of the lap entirely and heading into the pit lane. So still yet to register a lap time. He didn't even complete a full flying lap on that set of soft tyres before coming back into the pit lane. So Samuel Bean, Chanakinchi, and Ruben Pedreño, 3 drivers who could be right up there, really struggling at this stage of qualifying.
He's leaving that very much to the last minute. Now, Dylan Warren, he was in the pits, so that's not an accident. He has retired from the session. He will start no higher than 10th position. At the moment, 14 thousandths behind Jari Fitz's time. John Evans has come back out. Christian Hausmann and Getone also out there. Antoine Desilewski is on track as well. So it's going to be very much down to the wire for Samuel Bean, Chanakinchi and Ruben Pedreño. Support for there's usually support for Tom Martinez particularly, and I'm seeing a few chants for him. John Evans, as George, our almighty F1 presenter, has mentioned. John Evans flexing a bit in P1, 130.5, a storming lap in the Mercedes. So yes, we're looking forward to that. A bit of support for Samuel Bean from Jesus Bean. I'm assuming, obviously a relative there. I'm assuming brother, but we'll wait for a confirmation of that. And there we go. You're seeing lots of people coming out on the round laps, leaving it really, really late. It means 1.5 minute lap, as you can see. Jari Fitz has decided to park it. Will start no higher than 9th. Ooh, a lot of people leaving this very, very late. Almost everybody except for Yavage and Lewis Welch are on track. They're still in the pits, so they will not have time. And just as I say that, Jay actually retired, so he will go no further in this session. It's going to be a very, very busy session for quite a few people.
That's a very curious decision from Jay Varaga there in the pit lane to retire, because his fastest lap so far is on a set of soft tyres. He hasn't got a medium set of tyres that he'll be starting the race on at the moment. He must be betting on other people shunting him down to P11, and that's what he's aiming for. Jari Fitz and Dylan Warren could have been right up there if they'd wanted to be, but they also are just betting on trying to snipe that 11th, 12th, somewhere just outside the top 10. They think that it's better to start the race with a free choice of tyres than to start it on softs, and that's why they've gone for these very, very early retirements from the session. So we're going to have a slightly depleted field gunning it for pole, and one of those, of course, is going to be John Evans, who's on his flying lap right now. He's going to be one of the first to cross the line for the final time here in qualifying, and he was fractionally up about 17 thousandths of a second on his current provisional pole time through the first sector. Second sector's looked okay so far as well. See him get it turned in. The nose very compliant through 9. The rear end has to be compliant through 10, and it is. So John Evans will like the look of that middle sector very much indeed. He's found another 10th and a bit as he now enters turn 11, turn 12. This one you just want to be over so you can get the power down all the way through the long turn 13, which sets you up nicely for this back straight here, which now John Evans has plenty of time to sit here, pin the throttle, open the DRS, and think about the braking zone for the upcoming hairpin. And this is one of 2 remaining challenges on this lap. He's looking to solidify his grip on pole right now, maybe a touch too deep into the hairpin, but he collected it up nicely on the exit. Final corner, easy to invalidate. Will he do so? No. Just about keeps that front left on the track, crosses the line with a 1:30.393.
Very nicely done from John Evans. Christian Hausmann has got, I didn't quite see who that is right behind him for company. That's the other Mercedes. That's Dezalewski, who's already been over the line. It was Lewis Welch has crossed the line. Get-owned, jumped up to 3rd in the Haas with a 30.6. What a storming time from John Evans, who is still out there. One of the Ferraris, that's 11th and 12th. That's Norberto and Villacampa. Villacampa crossing the line. Does he improve slightly? Or 31.999 on the mediums. What about Norberto? No, he's coming into the pits. Who's next over the line? It's a Haas. It must be Jeffrey Ritchie. Yes, it is. Currently 5th, 31.392. Can he improve? Answer. He improves in time but not position. 130.890. Red Bull coming over the line. Not Dormeyer. Must be Dormeyer. Neon. Where is he? He's in 12th now. There's more shuffling going on. Oh, Chanakinchi has jumped up to 7th with a 31.576. Who is still arguing for space out there?
I think that's that.
I think it is that. Christian Hausmann is... he's just coming into the pits with the AI, I assume, driven Antoine Dezalewski. So it's going to be John Evans on the front row with Christian Hausmann. So it's Mercedes and Alfa Romeo on the front row. And Gattoned, another strong performance from him. He's had a fairly bad run of luck for the last 3 rounds. He has seen the podium twice this season, but not in the last few. So it's him and Andreas Dormeyer that take on row 2. Jeffrey Ritchie and Jay Verhaage in row 3. Shannon Kinchie and Lewis Welch on row 4. Lewis being our top. I think that's right. He's the top medium runner. Yes,
medium
he is. Yeah. Tom Martinez and Yari Fitz take on row 5. That's a great drone shot that we're seeing of the Alpine at the moment. We'll just wait for that so we can go through the rest of the grid. There we go. So it's Tom Martinez and Tom Martinez that take on row 5. Dylan Warren and Neon on row 6. And Villacampa and Norberto take on row 7, the Ferrari pair. Then it's the Spaniards of Ruben Pedreño and Samuel Bean in row 8. And Antoine Dezalewski, the Frenchman, bring up the rear of the field in the Mercedes. So the entire field bookended by the Mercs.
Yeah, absolutely. Antoine Dezalewski, though, I don't believe in control of that car at any point. Interesting to note, Samuel Bean was only about half a second faster than him, but that's because both Samuel Bean and Ruben Pedreño didn't set proper lap times in that session. They were always intending to start outside of the top 10, and they did not go flat out in that session. So that's why you see them down towards the very back of that order. And yeah, it provides us with a very mixed up picture of who we expect to be the fastest in the race, because we've seen who's the fastest on softs and we've seen who's the fastest on mediums. We haven't really got any way to compare those who committed to mediums, who didn't want to start inside the top 10, or who, if they were going to, had to start on mediums, and for those who just flat out gunned it for pole position. So I get the impression, judging by how many drivers were pretty recalcitrant about really going for it on the softs, that those who have committed to the soft tires for the start of this race will struggle as a result of that decision. So even our pole sitters, even the likes of John Evans, Christian Hausmann on that front row, might find themselves struggling as the race goes on, thanks to the tyre strategy playing out here. One driver who's going to be bitterly disappointed is Chanakinchi, who went out on softs at the very end. He was outside the top 10, went out on softs for the final run around, and qualified slowest of anyone who set a representative lap time on the soft tyres, behind even Jay Verhaage, who didn't go out at the very end of qualifying. So Chanakinchi will not be happy with the way that went, considering that he looked pretty rapid on the mediums.
We will have to see how this goes then. So let's have a look at tyres. Well, almost a 33-33-33 split there, isn't it? So the top 7 all on softs. Of course, being the qualifying tyre. And then 8th to 12th on the mediums and 13th to 17th on the hards. Well, that's, for me, that's a bit unusual. I mean, one, it's a nice, almost even pattern, so that'll suit the OCD amongst us. But now, I'm used to seeing majority of the bottom half of the field sticking with the same tyre, but I'm not used to seeing almost half of the top 10 and bottom 10 and below starting on one compound and half starting on the other. So lots of different ideas on tyre strategy.
Yeah, I mean, the hard tyres are so often persona non grata in the F1 games in general, and to see them being used to this extent here is very indicative of the fact that drivers will be struggling for tyre wear at this circuit. You can see why, if that many are willing to start on hards, you can see why so many were not willing to start on softs as well. So that's going to be something interesting to watch out for as we go forward. But yeah, as you mentioned, the visual, in terms of like visual satisfaction, that is by far the nicest starting array of tyres I have seen. It's a shame. You'd like to see maybe one more medium at the expense of one of the softs or something. It doesn't quite, if we had 18 drivers, 6 of each would have been perfect, but never mind that. This is still pretty good. We'll take it.
We'll take it indeed, as the cars now come under AI control to take...
Tom Martinez, sorry, he's just spun out on the formation lap. He's hit the wall. Thankfully, no damage. I don't think he can get damage on the formation lap, as I understand it. He's fallen to the back as well. Usually, that would mean he'd have to start from the back under usual F1 regulations, but he will be able to rejoin his grid place as the AI now takes control of his car. Bit of a hairy moment there for him on the exit of that hairpin.
And there we go. We've just seen the cross on Antoine Dezelewski's name, so he has not taken control of that car, so only 16 runners. That car will be ghosted then, so that does confirm what we've been told all along. So fair play to whoever noticed that one. Here we go then. For round number 8 here at PSGL F2, it is time to wind them up and let them go. And that's a very hesitant start from John Evans, a belter from Houseman, and also from Ghetto, and that Mercedes being swallowed up on the field. Oh my goodness, as Ghetto has tried to take the racing line, that has swiped Houseman, and Houseman now has spun to the tail end of the field. And I keep bringing up that menu, apologies. So it is Ghetto from John Evans, from Andreas Dormeyer, Jeffrey Ritchie and Lewis Welch up 3 positions as well. Great start for him as we now ferret our way through to turn 6 for the first time in anger. Ooh, dear, oh dear. I don't think the stewards are going to be too happy with Ghetto's move there.
Yeah, I mean, that was... It's hard to say. The first corner, it's so difficult. And so often you see 2 cars just coming together in the middle of the road. Neither was sort of, it wasn't a case of either of them not leaving enough space or anything like that. And sometimes in the game, when 2 cars make contact with front to rear wheels, we see the McLaren of Dylan Warren going well wide through turn 10 there. But so often you see the car that hits the front wheels to the other car start spinning round. And that is exactly what happened to Christian Houseman there. His teammate, Jari Fitz, is currently locked in battle with Chanakinchi, whose day is getting from bad to worse at the moment because he's actually down a position despite having started on those soft tyres.
Indeed he has. He's got Lewis Walsh and Tom Martinez ahead of him on the harder tyres. So it's really up to Christian Houseman to try and do something about it. Jari Fitz has done the Banzai move on the inside, or trying to do the Banzai move on the inside of 14. Lots of positions swapping round. Do we have a desync there? Yes, we do. We have an Aston Martin on the inside of an Alfa Romeo. But for the moment, the race continues as Ghetto, of course, completes the first lap with a 37 flat. Well, hopefully the issue we've just seen doesn't become a bigger problem as Houseman has come into the pits. Is that a retirement or is that a new front wing? Well, he hasn't retired yet. That's a new front wing, I think. Yes, it is. So new front wing onto the Alpha. Oh, what a shame for him as Dylan Warren is side by side. My goodness me, nearly inside of Red Bull, but manages to hold the position down into turn 6. The McLaren up to 10th.
Yeah, the good news about Yari Fitz and Chanakinchi, because Yari Fitz was ghosted, I don't think that is necessarily a desync. I think that's just the game ghosting for some reason. No idea why it would have ghosted Yari Fitz in that scenario, but it did ghost his car, allowing them to drive into each other. So it's not necessarily desync. It might still be, but it's not necessarily. I'm more worried about Antoine Desaluski, who's showing up very suspiciously on the timing tower and has been AI controlled from our perspective the whole way through. But we'll see about him. Hopefully, fingers crossed, things will still be all right. We are using the league system, of course, which hopefully helps with the desynchronization issues that so many have been plagued with here on F1 2021. But let's talk about the race for a little while longer at least. We're on lap 2 of 28. Get Owned leads the way from third on the grid. John Evans second, Andreas Dormeyer third, and then Jeffrey Ritchie fourth. 2 Hasses inside the top 4 as Houseman just lost it again through turn 8 there. So yeah, he's driving angry at the moment.
Yeah, which you can understand as Sam Bean on the inside of Villa Camper coming down into turn 14. We're going to see a lot of action down there as the fastest lap is swapping between the 2 Haas cars. Initially Ghetto, now Jeffrey Ritchie with that one. Dormeyer, go on.
Andreas Dormeyer going for John Evans. He's actually going for a switch back through turn 1 here into turn 2 they go. It's the inside line, turns to the outside for 3, and Dormeyer, he's going to do well to keep alongside Evans on the exit here. But he's just about going to manage to do it onto the curbing as well, but he keeps his foot down, and now he's brought the right to the inside line for turn 6. Pushes John Evans a little bit wide. John now is the one going for the switchback. This has been switchback after switchback, one to the other, but it's going to be Andreas Dormeyer who takes the position away in the end. So John Evans from pole down into third already.
That was a great move from Dormeyer. That started into turn 1 and finished by turn 7. So well played there from the Red Bull, not giving up on that one until the fat lady sang very much on that one. That's an English phrase. Look at that one up if you're unfamiliar with it. Had to use a fair amount of battery power to get that one done, but plenty of time in the race to sort that one out. Lewis Welch, the lead medium starter, is on the back of Java Hargate. There he is, chasing the Williams. Now DRS is going to be available to our drivers. Another, I thought the Williams didn't have it for a second there, but there goes Lewis on the outside line. Can he get that one slowed down? Well, he had to take a. He didn't want to slam into the back of Jeffrey Ritchie. Nice straightforward move for the Williams up into 5th place. And on they go. Where has Jeffrey Ritchie gone? He's gone to the pits. That's very early for a. I know he's. I can't click on his name because he keeps moving. There we go. Well, he's clearly not a fan of the soft tyres. I have seen the soft tyres ditched after 3 laps, so that's probably planned. And that's hard tyres for the Haas.
Yeah, aggressive strategy then for Haas and Jeffrey Ritchie. Getting rid of those soft tyres as quick as possible. You can see why no one wanted to touch them if they could possibly avoid it. But it's interesting now, we're already seeing the effects of that with the medium tyre runners. Lewis Welch and Tom Martinez making progress, both of them ahead of a soft tyre runner. Chanakinchi is still hanging there with these guys, and so is Jay Varaga just about. So it's not the end of the world for the soft tyre runners quite yet. But the mediums have already crossed over to the point where they are now faster than those softs. The softs are falling away pretty rapidly. You can see Lewis Welch. He's the closest to anyone else inside the top 10, and he is right up behind John Evans, his TF10 stablemate. Not teammates here in PSGL, of course, but you'd imagine there's going to be a little bit of common courtesy between them, both representing TF10 here.
Whoa!
As well, getting a bit all over the place on the exit. Thankfully, you're pretty much out of the traction zone by the time you hit the curbing there. But it hasn't helped him with his chance. Meanwhile, up at the front, it's Andreas Dormeyer getting a wave by on Ghetto.
Oh, and that's John Evans trying a bit of a late move there down into turn 14. Does not come off, and that's put him into the clutches of his TF10 stablemate, as you say, Jacob. But that's not gone the Alpine's way either. Did Jeffrey Ritchie get speeding in the pit lane penalty? Yes, he did. That's 5 seconds to him. Oh, goodness me. Can his day get any worse? Well, I'm sure it can, but we wouldn't wish it. Dylan Warren has gone on the inside of Chanakinchi. The soft tyres seemingly are beginning to fall away on the Aston. But, of course, Gadone did get absolutely mugged into turn 14. Of course, the only car in that train not getting DRS. And I think we all realise just how powerful it is heading down into that final turn. Fair play to Christian Hausmann. He's not given up. He's still he's still going. I love the fact that from first down to 14th, which is Ruben Pedreño, are still in that long, just all within DRS range of one another. That is absolutely fun. I love that. We don't have a huge skills gap from top to bottom. That's part of the joy of PSGL. There's many different tiers that are geared towards a variety of different skill levels. So if you're looking to take part, please do hit the socials, find the Discord, sign up. You may have lunatics like us shouting about your on-track antics. Oh wow, now look at the gap that Dormai gave himself over Ghetto. It's a good half a second as Ghetto feeling the need to go to that defensive line as John Evans trying the outside manoeuvre into turn 14. Jump on board with Lewis Welch in the Alpine, who's also claimed John Evans. So John got slightly disadvantaged with his movement Ghetto, who's now shot into the pits. So hopefully that will go well for him. But John Evans now into third behind Lewis Welch. Lewis is having a great run in the Alpine.
Yeah, John actually completely lost the rear end on the exit of that hairpin. Struggled to collect the car up, but that gave Lewis Welch enough of a sniff to get through. Further behind, Jay Varaga and Dylan Warren are going at it. This is an inevitability, really, because Dylan Warren should be able to get past Varaga without too much difficulty, but the Dutchman doesn't want to make it too easy for the Englishman. Dylan Warren finds his way through. The medium tyres working much better than the softs at this stage, as is evidenced by the fact that just behind them, Jari Fitz, also on the medium tyres, is breezing past Chanakinchi, who went all the way around the outside of turn 6 and has dispatched the Aston Martin. So Chan drops another position down into 8th. And yeah, you mentioned the DRS train throughout the whole field. That's a testament to how well the hard tyres do perform here in Shanghai. They're holding up really well, even in comparison to the softs and the mediums.
Yeah, just no one's told Andreas Dormeyer that. He's making them work really well, but it looks like Lewis Welch has stayed within 3/10 of him coming out of turn 13. This surely is going to be a straightforward manoeuvre for the Alpine. There he goes, DRS flies past the Red Bull. Andreas Dormeyer knows full well he can't defend against that. And into the lead for Lewis Welch. As we see as Norberto in the Ferrari has also gone past Chanakinchi. Surely the Aston Martin is going to come in this time to get rid of those soft tyres. Does he? Yes, he does. As Lewis Welch sets the new fastest lap of 34.6 on the board. So Chanakinchi is in and Andreas Dormeyer has also come in. John Evans has chosen to continue. He's the only soft runner still out there. I mean, he's up into third. That's fair play, but they are going to... Surely they're going to lose time against those around him. Dylan Warren looks pretty racy there in the McLaren in 4th position. But there's now 1.7 seconds between the two Alpines that now lead the way, 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, the difference in grip right now is becoming enormous. The soft tyre run is already struggling. You can see Jay Varaga, he's losing positions hand over fist, gets pushed wide on the exit of turn 6 by Norbert Jakab there. You won't thank the Hungarian for that, but Norbert on those hard tyres has a lot more pace than anyone on the soft. So Jay Varaga and John Evans, I'm very surprised to see them going for another lap here. I really would have thought they'd come in sooner than this, especially with the tyres in the conditions that they are, because now they're such easy meat for other people to battle with that they're going to lose even more time by getting overtaken, because no matter what happens, no matter how clean the overtake is, when one car overtakes another, both of them lose time in the process, and that is happening to both John Evans and Jay Varaga. That's going to lose them time to the guys they are racing, the guys who have already pitted for the hard tyres, Jeffrey Ritchie, Ghetto, and Andreas Dormeyer and Chanakinchi, and to a certain extent Christian Hausmann, but his race is heavily compromised. Now we'll see Neon. He's going to be the next one to have a go at a soft tyre runner. He sends it up the inside of Varaga into the hairpin, and Samuel Bean, Varaga's teammate, decides this is a great opportunity for him to slide his way on through as well. Now this is a tricky situation for Varaga because he wants to go in the pit lane. He manages to find his way in, and John Evans has stayed out again.
That's got to be a mistake, surely. I mean, those tyres must be absolutely wrecked. And look how wide he was coming through into turn 2. And Dylan Warren's just breezed past him. That has to be a mistake, surely. Unless he's trying to skip the hards, unless he's wanted to go soft medium. Which, I mean, I think he's the only person who go on.
Sorry, Andreas Dormeyer, Jeffrey Ritchie, Ghetto, and they were briefly 3 wide on the run down towards turn 1 there. These are the guys that are pitted. These are the provisional race leaders as things stand. Jeffrey Ritchie pulled an undercut on both of them by pitting first for those hard tyres. He's made contact with Dormeyer, and that sends Andreas Dormeyer around and into the wall. But probably no damage done, but he's retired from the session regardless. Dormeyer done with this one after contact with Jeffrey Ritchie.
That's a shame, because that was recoverable. He could have easily made time, and hopefully that's not going to cause us some lobby issues as he's now left the session. That's pure frustration taking over Dormeyer. That's a shame. He's got the pace, but he's just had no luck at all. He's only had 2 points finishes this season, one of which was a second place, which was in Zandvoort. So he's got the pace, and we've seen it here. We had amazing pace, just no luck at all. And alas, that has bitten him again. So Andreas Dormeyer, the first victim, assuming we're not counting Desilewski, of course. Is John Evans coming in this time? Yes, he is. He's wow, doing a Lewis Hamilton and nearly slamming into the wall. So yes, of course, if that was gravel, he'd have buried it. Yeah, that's 2 laps too late.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I called it. He's gone onto the mediums. He wanted us to try and skip the hards.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly why he and Jay Varaga did stay out for longer. I didn't realise they'd be able to take the mediums this long into the race, but it seems like they think they can get the mediums to the very end here. What that does is that calls into question why Chanakinchi pitted 1 lap ago for hards, as he's now coming out of the pit lane right next to John Evans. Tries to hang it around the outside, but John, with the better tyres at the moment, will be able to take that position back from Chanakinchi. But it does beg the question, 1 lap ago, Chanakinchi came in for hard tyres. Why couldn't he wait 1 lap longer and go on to mediums if it's so easy to get the mediums to the end? Maybe it's going to be incredibly marginal still for both John Evans and Jay Varaga.
That's the thing, those mediums have got to go a long way. A good 20 laps on these tyres. A circuit which is not kind on tyres either. That's a long way. So some people throwing the dice and giving it a gamble. We will see how that goes. Of course, Jay Varaga, as you mentioned, doing the same thing as John Evans. Well, we'll see whose gamble is going to pay off. So Get Owned is now into 10th position in the house without challenge at the moment. We'll see if he is able to continue that kind of pace as he heads onto the back straight. Big amount of gap ahead. But the lead train, well, 1.5 seconds separates first and second. The Alpines up front still leading the way. Lewis Walsh ahead of Tom Martinez as John Evans has just gone past Jeffrey Ritchie using the most of those medium tyres. That's down into turn 14. As you can see there, the Mercedes now ahead of the second house. Bearing in mind that Jeffrey Ritchie has that 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Ooh, I mean, I don't know. This could go either way. It really depends on how well these guys can do on very, very worn tyres, I suspect.
Yeah, and of course, maybe virtual safety cars could come into it as well. That would be perfect situation for the guys who are out there at the front at the moment. But given, I still have to imagine that on all the evidence we've seen, people really didn't want to start this race on soft tyres if they could do anything about it. At least the majority of them. So I think those who are on the mediums right now, they are still in pole position to win this race. Lewis Welch is still the most likely winner of this race right now, as far as I'm concerned. He's holding a very steady gap to his teammate Tom Martinez. It's been pretty much nothing but 1.7, 1.8 seconds between the two of them for the last 2 laps at least. So Tom is not closing in on Lewis Welch. He's not being dropped by him either. But the perforation in that field of medium and hard tyre runners that was caused by having to overtake everyone on the softs has worked out very well for Welch.
Has indeed, and I suspect that Tom Martinez at the moment is acting as rear gunner. Go on.
Sorry, that was Sam Bean actually going into the back of Neon, into the braking zone of the hairpin, made contact with the Red Bull driver. I don't think there was any damage done, but he definitely gave Neon a little bit of an extra shove around that corner.
And look how compact this pack is, as we've just seen on the overlay. Chanakinchi getting past Jeffrey Ritchie. Still a bit of squabble going down there. There's Jay Varaga on the back of that pack. Now you're expecting him to probably do a bit better as he's got the stickier tyres on. Oh, the car misbehaving itself coming through turn 16. John Evans is maximising the extra grip he's got. He's already got himself over a second gap between himself and Chanakinchi in 12th place. Further up towards the top, so he is. Jari Fitz still leads this particular pack. Fair play to Norberto as well, is the lead hard runner up there in 5th position, and he's staying on the back of Jari Fitz. Now, unless Jari is damaged, because he's 2.7 seconds off the back of Dylan Warren, that's a pretty good effort from the Ferrari.
Yeah, I think Jari is just back there because it took him a little bit longer to get past the likes of Chanakinchi and I think Jay Varaga when those guys were on softs and falling down through the field. You just seen Jari there make a mistake as well through turn 11. So Norbert Jakab, he will want to get past Jari as soon as he possibly can. Because right now, his hard tyres, they're probably going to be getting to the stage soon where they're just going to be flat out faster than the mediums if they aren't already. And here he goes, gunning it straight past Jari Fitz. This is going to be a breeze past. No chance for Fitz. No intention, I don't think, from Jari either to defend that one. As further behind, Sam Bean and Neon are going at it. They made contact a lap ago. And Neon is not so kind as Jari was to let Sam Bean through, but then he dives into the pits anyway. So Neon going very early to get rid of those mediums. Surely that has to be hards to the end of this race.
Yeah, there's no way softs are going to go, 16 odd laps. So yeah, it's got to be a set of hard tyres for the Red Bull, and yes, it is. So fair play for giving that one a go. And out he rolls. Where is John Evans? He is right on the back of Get Owned. As John Evans sets the fastest lap again. This should be a pretty easy, straightforward manoeuvre. There he goes. John Evans on the inside line for turn 1. Although Get Owned is not just going to let him get away with it. Tried his best, but there's no way. That corner is just too long. You can't string out around the outside forever. So Get Owned now down into 10th position, but with a bit of a gap behind, about 1.7 seconds to Chana Kinchi behind. Can John Evans stretch his legs and get a decent gap behind him, but keep those tyres intact enough for the final part of the race? We will see. Lewis Welch. Go on.
Sorry. Well, I was just going to say one very, very interesting thing about this situation right now is that Lewis Welch he's first of all, he's dropped Tom Martinez by a fair bit in the last lap or so. I think Tom might have made some kind of mistake. But more significantly, hold on, we'll talk about that in a moment, because here comes Dylan Warren on Tom Martinez.
Yeah, this is as defensive as Tom Martinez can go. Again, he knows full well there's no way he's going to defend that miles before the braking zone. That one he's done. Dylan Warren up into second place, splitting the Alpines, but he's got 2.5 seconds to close in on Lewis Watch. Yeah, I was going to come on to say pretty much the same thing, that Lewis Watch has done a great job of just keep on building that gap. But I do think you're right. I think that was a mistake from Tom that may well have put Dylan Warren off slightly, that we didn't see slightly earlier on. We'll see how that one goes. But Dylan Warren then looks like he's got the pace over the Alpines at the moment. We'll see if he's able to capitalise on that. Slightly further down the field, Christian Hausmann is on the back of the AI-controlled Antoine Desilewski. Jeffrey Ritchie has got himself a penalty. It's very late, actually. So I guess track limit penalties aren't too much an issue here at Shanghai. Some tracks are absolutely terrible for them. Shanghai proving not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in the past it has been a tough one. There aren't that many corners where it is an issue, but the ones where it can be an issue, it really often is an issue, particularly that final corner. That's really the killer. Because it's so easy to just run a touch too wide through there. It's so inviting to try and take that corner as quick as you possibly can, because you know there's a massive straight coming up after it as well, and it just feels great when you really nail it. But if you don't nail it, you can very easily pick up a warning through there. So if drivers are picking up warnings, that's the most likely place to be doing so. One thing to note, Lewis Welch is currently very monotonous in his lap times. Absolutely metronomic, I'll say. As Jeffrey Ritchie's out. Jeffrey Ritchie's lost it on the exit of turn 9. And into the wall he's gone, and he's out of the race, and that brings out a safety car. So, this is fantastic news for everyone, from Lewis Welch in first down to Ruben Pedreño in 8th.
Let's see. We were on board with Hausmann to see where that went wrong. Sadly, the ghost car has disappeared. And there we go. The safety car has done the inevitable and triggered absolutely everybody in the top 8 into the pits. So John Evans is going to lead the race, I would imagine. Well, it depends.
I'm not even sure.
I'm not sure he's going to. Oh, he's in the pits himself. So
no. Oh, indeed he is. Yeah, that is really interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, but a fresh set of mediums. Why not? Everyone else has, and the safety car's going to bunch everyone up anyway. Yeah, very good thinking from John Evans.
Yeah, literally every driver in the field, barring at the moment Hausmann and Desilewski, they haven't had a chance to yet. Desilewski, of course, AI controlled, so we can't really make any judgments on his decision making. But every driver going for the pits here, that just shows you the value of a good set of tyres at this circuit. And that compounds the misery for John Evans, Ghetto, and Chanakinchi, Neon, Jay Varaga, because if they're pitting now, they're losing track position. I mean, they will have mediums to the end, whereas a lot of the front runners have hards. So that will benefit the medium tyre runners to the end of this race, you have to imagine. But still, they have lost out big time by having to make that first pit stop, which ended up being relatively unnecessary. Of course, they couldn't have got here on soft tyres anyway, so they had to make that pit stop. But that safety car timing, really bad news for them. Fantastic news for particularly Norbert Jakob and Samuel Bean and Ruben Pedreño, 2 drivers who qualified down in 15th and 16th. Our championship leader, Sam Bean, everything comes up in his direction once again by the look of things. He just has to find his way past Norbert Jakob to be the person with probably the best chance of winning this race. At the moment, it's Norbert Jakob, I would say, on those medium tyres with 3 hard tyre runners ahead. We've seen how easy it was for John Evans to breeze past the likes of Get Owned and Chanakinchi when he came out of the pit lane on fresh mediums relative to fresh hards. So it's going to be up to Welch, Warren, and Fitz to try and exercise some kind of solidarity here and keep themselves in a DRS train to make sure that it's harder for the medium tyre runners to get through.
Well, every single runner, or remaining runner, has come in for a fresh set of boots. I'm a little surprised that we've seen people come out on the hards, in truth. I thought everybody would switch to the mediums at this stage, but not what everyone's gone for.
I mean, the guys on the hards, of course, they started the race on these medium tyres. So they have to run a different set of different compound of tyres towards the end of the race. And that is why you're seeing Tom Martinez come into the pits now. He started on mediums, had to go onto hards, lost out big time because he had to double stack with Lewis Welch. So he'd already lost a fair few track positions. Now, in for a penny, in for a pound, he's going back in for a fresh set of mediums and compounding the track position loss. But he'd rather lose, 7 more positions on track than have to run around on hards to the end of this race.
So then Lewis Welch, who before the safety car looked pretty damn set to maintain that top position, he's now in a very precarious position because those mediums are probably going to last, the remaining 13 laps of racing that we've got left.
Yeah.
Fairly well without too much management going on. And without too much degradation going on, but those hard tyres are going to be pretty tricky for them to keep up with the medium shod cars. Now, that sounds like a pretty obvious statement, but they haven't come in. And are they going to sacrifice their position to come in and be at the back? That's also the other thing. If the top 3 do come in, this puts Norberto in a great position, but Sam Bean is once again in the top 5. Bear in mind, he won the last 2 races, safety car in that up as I thought would be the case, as Tom Martinez now at the back of the field. Oh my God, all bets are off now.
I mean, if we're putting bets back on, I reckon I'm betting on Samuel Bean for this one. I'd love to say Norbert Jakob as well. I do think he's in the best position, but I think Samuel Bean, given that he's been so dominant throughout the season so far, he's got to be the most likely one. 3-time race winner so far this season, and he is in, once again, a fantastic position. Welch, Warren, and Fitz, they aren't out of it, though. They are not out of it, because we did see at the beginning of the race how the hard tyre runners were able to live with the pace of the medium tyre guys pretty well. We saw Norbert Jakob wasn't getting dropped by Jari Fitz in that first stint. So if the same is true to the end of this race for these hard tyre runners, then they do have the chance to keep these medium tyre runners at bay, particularly if they maintain the DRS train at the front. If Jari Fitz falls away from Dylan Warren and Lewis Welch, he will get picked off. He needs to make sure that doesn't happen.
And away we go. We're racing here again in Shanghai as Lewis Welch has nailed the throttle and tried to run away with it, but Dylan Warren has followed him in the McLaren, already putting pressure onto the Alpine for the lead, not quite coming off as yet. Everybody has pretty much survived to the field, well, qualifying. The field was bookended by Mercedes as we see the not quite controlled by Antoine Desilewski Mercedes get slightly out of position, and Tom Martinez then slides through on the inside. For a moment, the entire field was bookended by Alpines. As we now continue on our motorway, and also that's cleared the 5-second penalty we saw on the board for John Evans, I think it was. As now the only penalty up there is Get Owned. Lewis Welch trying his best to break away from the pack. There's Jari Fitz with Norbert Jakob all over his tail, so that's where I suspect the Ferrari's going to stay. But bearing in mind they won't have DRS just yet as they come onto the back straight. Lots of sparks being kicked up. Ooh, this could go any number of ways. I think it's a fair shout for Sam Bean as a potential race winner here. He's still going to have a few cars ahead of him to deal with. And now comes through turn 13 onto the back straight. And Lewis Welch has had a great run, in fairness, and nearly broken DRS race to the McLaren, which I know DRS isn't a thing just yet, but that's a great run for Lewis Ross. Oh, big move there from Norbert Jakob. Can he get on the inside of Jari Fitz? He can. Can he make it stick? The camera's gone the wrong way. Yes, he can. The medium shot Ferrari up into third.
Wow, okay, that's big. That is very big from Norbert Jakob. Because if the DRS train did form between those hard runners, he was going to have trouble getting through. He knew that, and that's why he pulled the move before DRS was a factor. Very interesting stuff, very opportunistic, and essential, I believe, for Norbert Jakob's chances in this race. Also, the other thing, you mentioned Lewis Welch almost dropping Dylan Warren out of DRS range. I firmly believe he doesn't want to do that. I think that's going to ruin his chances. Spin
for Jave Hage. He's had a spin coming through turn 2. That's dropped him at the back of the field.
Yeah, so Jay Varaga had a bit of an up and down race so far. He was sort of clinging on by his fingertips in the first stint when he was on the soft tyres, and now, falling a little bit by the wayside. He's not too far off the back, but that amount of time, when we've seen how close this entire field is, to pick up 4 and a bit seconds on the rest of the field, very difficult to do indeed.
Very difficult to do indeed. But Lewis Welch leading the way. I mean, bearing in mind, looking at Lewis's previous results, other than last time out where he was on the podium, he's only scored 1 point previous to last week. So his season has been, shall we say, testing, and here he is in a really good position to take away top honours. Yes, I know we have another 10 laps to do. There goes Sam Bean. Can he make that one stick? Well, we know he can. He's going to be on the inside line. That's surely going to be a bit more straightforward for Sam in the Williams. Yes, it is. Through into 4th for him. Let's look at Jakob. No, he couldn't get a decent run on the exit of the final turn, but he has got the fastest lap, which is almost to be expected. Jari Fitz, is he going to try and counter? We saw him have a little bit of a jink behind Sam Bean there, but does not commit to the move. Let's jump further back. Jave Hage. Well, that again is the oddly controlled Mercedes, we know that, and there we go. The Williams slides through literally on the Mercedes. Of course, he's quite some way behind, 5.3 seconds behind Tom Martinez, who's had to pit twice, as we saw behind the safety car. Back up towards the front. It looks like it's business as usual as the snake's starting to disperse, but so much fighting still to do. Jari Fitz, is he under pressure from Ruben Pedreño? Not just yet. Looks like Dylan Warren is closing in on Lewis Roch for the potential lead, but they've of course got that medium shot Ferrari to deal with.
Yeah, and Dylan Warren has had to use a lot of his battery power to stay within DRS range of Welch. We saw Lewis Welch threatening to drop him at the end of the first lap after the safety car came in, and Dylan Warren responded by just dumping all of the power he had available to him on the straights, and that is going to leave him incredibly vulnerable to the medium tyre runners behind. The good news for him is that Norbert Jakob has used a lot of his battery charge. He's using even more of it now as he's trying to send it on Dylan Warren already. He's not going to get there in time, but he's going to go for it in the braking zone. Dylan Warren's going to cut him off. Norbert Jakob couldn't quite get alongside, and thankfully both of them get away with that one unscathed. But that was very bold from Norbert Jakob, and that was a desperation move because he used a lot of resources in terms of his battery charge. He used about 20% to try and get past Dylan Warren on that straight, realised he wasn't going to pull alongside, so pulled the dive bomb. And the fact that he hasn't got past Dylan Warren and meanwhile used all of that battery power means that he is very vulnerable to Sam Bean behind in the coming laps. Sam Bean is up at 90% charge, Norbert Jakob down at 37. So Sam Bean is in a much better position than Norbert Jakob as things currently stand.
He is, if he can stay within DRS range. Now, there's a few points in that, from the final turn through to where they are now, where Sam Bean was almost outside of a second. That's, I think, the other reason why Norberto was trying to make the move when he did, to try and get, another car in between himself and Sam Bean, but also to try and break that DRS to, back to the Williams. And that has, as you can quite clearly see, not come off at all. Now Sam Bean is pushing a little bit more. He's not using a great deal of power. He doesn't particularly need to. He's staying now within half a second of the Ferrari. That's why Norbert Jakob was trying to make the move when he did, I think. It was partly desperation, but I think that's also what he was thinking. DRS open again on the McLaren. Well, on pretty much everybody, as you can see. The only person without it is going to be Neon, and of course the leader, as Houseman has gone past. Neon does have DRS. Ooh, that's getting a bit close coming down into the final turn. It's getting very scrappy between Christian Hausmann and Neon. They come up towards the final turn. Yeah, they're going to behave themselves from that point onwards. Oh, we have a spinner. It's for Hage again. Williams is not having a good time. He's had another spin. And that sees him down into last. He's going to retire that one. He's bringing that one into the pits. I guarantee he's going to retire that car. Oh, what a shame. But Lewis Walsh doing what he can to hang on to the lead. Yep, there is the retirement, as I thought would happen. There's still no change for the lead just yet. But a lot of pressure that Lewis Walsh is absorbing at this point.
Yeah, and he's doing a good job of absorbing it because he's got better battery state than both Dylan Warren and Norbert Jakob in behind. Sam Bean, by far, has the best battery charge of anyone, pretty much in the whole field right now. So in fact, actually, a big part of that was the fact that Norbert Jakob pulled a move as early as he did on Jari Fitz, forced Jari to use a lot of his own battery trying to defend from Norbert Jakob, and that meant that he had nothing left to defend from Sam Bean with, so Sam didn't even have to use the resources to get past Jari Fitz. So when I said earlier everything was falling into his lap, that's another way in which it's fallen into Sam Bean's lap in this race. And he's still not going to use his battery charge. He still feels confident. As the laps are ticking away, he still feels confident enough there in fourth. Behind them, Jari Fitz is just about on the cusp of DRS range, but I think he must have had it on that lap because Ruben Pedreño couldn't quite close in enough on him. Jari Fitz has stopped the rut after losing those first two positions to Jakob and Bean, and that's going to be frustrating for Pedreño, who's had a couple of looks at the Dutchman, but hasn't been able to find his way past.
Well, there's a familiar message. Samuel Bean with the fastest lap of the race. He has such a great season. A couple of wobbles here and there, but has had an absolutely stormy season and leads the way by almost 30 points. 27 points he leads over Paris Burrow, who's not with us this time around. So that gap is, of course, going to extend. You see the top four now. That's Jari. You can see Jari Fitz has lost DRS or will have lost DRS to the Williams if that gap does not shrink, and that's really only going to happen if there's a major issue for the top four. Weaving our way now through turn 8. And so I think you're right. I think Sam Bean's just going to stay there and time his attack perfectly well. He's confident enough he can maintain the pace to the top 3. Novarta's got a bit more energy in the tank. He's now hovering around 50%. Dylan Warren about 32. And Lewis Walsh about 54. So yeah, the biggest advantage in that sense, Sam Bean now has a full battery. He has enough power that he can sell it back to the national grid.
Indeed he can. He used a tiny bit of it onto this back straight here, but not enough to try and move on Norbert Jakob or anything like that. Jakob actually got very close in the braking zone to Dylan Warren, and Jari Fitz is going to lose out here to Ruben Pedreño. Tried to get the cut back, but he wasn't able to do so. Made a little bit of contact with the rear wing of Pedreño in the process. And Lewis Welch,
oh dear,
round the final corner, picking up a 3-second time penalty. So we thought he was absorbing the pressure perfectly. Evidently, it's not been quite so calm in the cockpit as we might have thought.
Oh dear, as Neon is in the pits. The Red Bull has come into the pits quite clumsily by the look of that when we jumped to him. Oh dear, what has happened here? And I'm getting my buttons all wrong. I wholeheartedly apologise. So it's fresh. He's gone on to soft tyres. And there was no front wing on the car. So, okay. Strange decision there from Neon. He's going for the fastest lap, but that's not really going to count for anything if he's outside of the top 10 anyway. But yeah, for Lewis Walsh, that's going to drop him down to about 5th position as it stands at the moment. And
Lewis Welch, slow. He was just suddenly very slow through turn 8. I don't know if he had a wobble through 7 or something, but Dylan Warren is trying to force his way past. Through turn 10 they go, and Dylan Warren makes it through. And this is Christmas come early for the cars behind. If these guys are going to start battling with one another, Norbert Jakob and Samuel Bean will absolutely love to see that. Lewis Welch is probably going to have a run back on Dylan Warren. Dylan Warren has worse battery state than Lewis Welch at this stage, and Lewis knows it. So he's pushing the battery button right now, throwing down all that power onto the circuit, and he's going to go straight back at it with Dylan Warren as they run down towards the hairpin.
Whoa.
Breezing past he goes, but there's Norbert Jakob, ever the opportunist in this race, and once again making contact with the side pod of Dylan Warren. They get tangled up, and that's Dylan Warren into the wall. Norbert Jakob just about manages to keep going after getting onto the grass, but who but Sam Bean would find his way through unscathed?
unreal. And Villacampa has got himself a penalty as well. Now the track limit penalties are starting to come out. Dylan Warren's gone into the pits. That's probably going to be a retirement from him. And well, yeah, he's got a speeding in the penalty as well. Oh, you got to feel for Dylan from leading the race briefly to tangling with Norbert Jakob, who is now being swamped by his teammate and a lot of people really, really close to him as well. Oh, you never want to see it, but Dylan Warren's left the session. I'm not really surprised. Oh, as we see Ghetto bouncing off of... Oh, he's spun! Ghetto is all over the place. He ghosted for a moment there, but he's just... I think he got a bit of a tap there, was helped into a slight spin. And, this race has really undone itself for him as well, because he was fighting towards the top. Norbert Jakob is now down into 6th position. Jari Fitz up to 5th.
Yeah, Norbert Jakob just lost 3 positions in this lap so far. He must have lit up those rears in a major way, or got the grass on his tyres, struggling to clean up those tyres, something, because he's really, really struggling now. And this, Tom Martinez has made his way up through the field pretty well as well, by the way. He's found his way up into 8th from the very back after that pit lane. After heading into the pits a second time behind the safety car. Ruben Pedreño is going to be the next driver in the queue to take a look at Norbert Jakob, but Tom Martinez might be able to get both of them here. He's not even using his battery, but he's pulling alongside the AlphaTauri of Ruben Pedreño. Ruben to the inside, brakes later, and might make contact with Norbert Jakob. Norbert sees him coming, gives him the space, and that might actually give the opportunity for Ruben to turn a defense into an attack. As he can't hang around the outside, he tries to do so, gets pushed off wide, and that is Tom Martinez's ticket all the way from 8th into 6th. He will take that any day of the week. Thank you very much, Norbert Jakob, he says, as he moves up into 6th position in that medium shod Alpine. But he's now got 1.5 seconds thanks to all that battling. He's lost time to the cars ahead and has a penalty.
My goodness me, that is all kinds of crazy that has kicked off. And it looks like Neon's back in the pits again. I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming he's going to retire it this time. There's a Houseman and Norbert Jakob are swapped around. So Norbert Jakob is just plummeting through the field now. Assuming they're damage or just frustration on frustration. Neon's changed tyres and he's coming out again. I'm not really sure what he's playing at. The Sambi need do nothing now. He can just stay where he is. Oh, he locks up a little bit coming into turn 11. He need do nothing now. He can just stay there with that penalty on Lewis Watch, unless, of course, Sam Bean picks up his own penalty. Can you just double check if he's how many warnings he's on? Neon.
I will take a look right
Neon
now.
gets a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit. Bravo.
One warning for Sam Bean at this point.
Good lord, amazing. Great driving. Big chunk missing from the front wing of the Ferrari I've just spotted.
Yeah.
The right end plate is gone. That's why Norbert Jakob is plummeting through the field as we see Chanakinchi in the Aston Martin make his way through. John Evans, bearing in mind that we were wondering about his strategy early on, that safety car played into his hand, is now on podium.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the safety car played into his hands as much as the chaos that came after it, as every driver just fell off the road in front of him. Here comes Getoned, getting past Ruben Pedreño there. So Ruben is falling down the order at a relative rate of knots right now, struggling on this safety car restart after getting tangled up with Norbert Jakob, Tom Martinez, a lap ago, I should say. But I've mentioned it twice already this race, everything falling into Sam Bean's lap. The two cars ahead of him took each other off the road and he was able to drive through unscathed into second position, where the car ahead of him has a time penalty. How perfect can a race get? How much can everything just fall perfectly into place for you compared to what it has done for Sam Bean in this race? He's driven fantastically well as well. I won't take that away from him, but he's definitely had the rub of the green.
Oh, completely. Yeah, he absolutely has in this race. You can't deny that at all. He's just staying on the back of Lewis Watch, who, with a bit more luck, could potentially finish second, but John Evans is within the 3 seconds to at least claim second at this point. You can see the top two in the distance. Oh, Sam Bean's not going to leave it to penalties. He's had enough of staring at the back of the Alpine, and through into the lead he goes on track. Is Lewis Watch going to have a crack back at him? It's very hard to do that cut back, heading down towards the final turn. The Sam Bean then leading the way with the Williams. Is he going to have a go? Yep, the Alpine has a go and reclaims the lead down into turn one. So these two aren't done fighting one another. In fairness to Lewis Watch, he doesn't have to just concede the position. It would be very easy for him to just sit behind Sam Bean knowing he's got the penalty and that Sam doesn't. But fair play, he's still giving it a good go. But that's just allowing John Evans to close in on them.
Yeah, I will say this battling is making it less likely for Lewis Welch to be able to keep John Evans in that 3-second window. In fact, that's now looking pretty impossible. Thankfully for Welch, though, Villacampa, Fitz, Martinez, and Gettoned all have penalties to their names as well. So he doesn't have to worry about whether those guys are going to get within 3 seconds of him or not. And Sam Bean is such a battery-saving purist that he got past Lewis Welch with 85% battery and then didn't deploy any of it down the main straight and allowed Lewis Welch to get back past him again. I think maybe in that circumstance, maybe when you're trying to just defend the lead of the race, maybe that's when you finally acquiesce and use your battery power. I assume the idea for Bean is to try and take the fastest lap on the final lap, because at this point, there's not really anything left for him to try and use that battery power on.
We will see. Here comes Samuel Bean again, as Neon now adds his name to the penalty. Oh, sorry, adds to his penalty count. So Lewis Welch is lead again, or has maintained the lead, I should say. But now he's going to be under pressure if Sam Bean does opt to try and make the move. Now the gap to the leader for John Evans is 2 seconds, as you can see on the overlay. 2 laps to go. Unless John makes a mistake, it seems unlikely that Lewis Welch is going to finish ahead of him. He's still going to finish on the podium, as we can see. Villacampa has 8 seconds worth of penalties. He's going to plummet quite some way. That's looking fairly good for Ruben Pedreño as well, because he'll gain 2 positions at the if the race finished as it is right now. Possibly gaining the position from Jari Fitz, but that's very, very marginal at the moment.
He's going to gain from Villacampa as well, because Villacampa has not only a 3-second penalty, but a 5-second penalty. So he's going to gain from Martinez, Getton, and Villacampa as things currently stand.
Indeed, indeed. I'm very curious on how this lead trio is going to end up. I think the ones behind are just kind of staying where they are at the moment. We're not seeing any kind of major moves going from the train behind, with 12 cars remaining from our 17 starters, or 16 starters, strictly speaking, as we've got Neon has spun again. He's not having a good day, is he? Is the Red Bull at the tail end of the field?
I think I've worked out what Neon's doing is that he's now just having fun, and I think that's because he can't retire from this race and leave the session because he's the lobby host. So he has to stay. He's locked in. So he's just circulating around on fast tires, having a ball of a time at the very back of the field, and that's all he can really do at this stage. Out at the front, Sam Bean hasn't been able to get past Lewis Welch again, despite having deployed a little bit more of that battery power, and he would have wanted to get past, because now he doesn't get an opportunity, unless he takes him into turn 2 here, which he's not going to be able to do. He doesn't now get the opportunity to try and set a faster lap to try and secure the fastest lap in this race for that extra point. At the moment, it's Neon that holds that anyway. It would have had to have been a fantastic lap from Sam Bean. But with the battery he had available, I imagine that's what he was hoping to do, but now he doesn't have a clean track with which to do it.
We'll see, as he may just choose not to bother. You would run the risk of getting those, the deadly incident points. We've seen it happen on the final lap. But I've seen it many a time. What's Neon doing? Is he trying to drift the Red Bull? No, he's just there for a Sunday drive, basically. he's got a great ringside seat for the leaders coming past him. Into turn 11 then for our lead cars. There's a yellow in Sector 3. That can only be for Neon. He's the only one in there. Through onto the back straight for the final time. I'm sure the Red Bull is going to get out of the way and not do a lap. Sam Bean, he's not even got DRS open, has he? He's just staying there. Is he going to banzai it into the final turn? Yeah, he's gone for it. Oh, big lockup from Sam Bean. But yeah, there you go. He has a side-by-side between himself and the Alpine. Don't take each other off now.
Oh, he's done it. It's happened.
It has happened. Sam Bean spun. So Lou Watch is going to cross the line first. John second. And that's going to put Sam Bean. Whoa, my goodness. I'm so glad he was ghosted. Jari Fitz currently third, but that's going to swap around with all of the... I can't believe that on the final turn of the final lap, it's contact between them, and it was so needless. There was no need for that move to happen.
What an inexplicable ending to this race. That has me gobsmacked. And I guess his luck ran out. He had it all race. It ran out in that final corner of the 28 laps of Shanghai. He ran out of luck right at the end. And wow, what a way for that race to finish and for John Evans to take the victory.
Yeah, I'm just stunned. I have nothing left on that. Well. So, without Stewart's intervention, it is John Evans from Louis Walsh from Yari Fitz. Yari Fitz starting in 10th and finished 4th. Ruben Pedreño starting 15th and finishing 4th.
Look at Houseman. Remember after the first lap where Houseman was? He's there in 5th.
There he is in 5th position. Yeah, absolutely. Sam Bean 6th, Tom Martinez 7th, Get Owned in 8th, with Cherokee in 9th, and Villa Camper rounding out the top 10. Oh, good. I can't believe it. I really can't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in a championship sense, that's good news for us, for the championship, to have a few drivers getting closer. But you never want to see that happen. After Sam Bean drove such a good race as well, you don't want to see it get thrown away. The 16th to 1st that it would have been, it's a big shame. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Looking at the incident, it was hard to give blame one way or another, I would say. That corner is always a really difficult one to go side by side with. I'd have to look at it again to apportion blame one way or the other. And maybe Sam Bean, knowing that there wasn't actually anything on the line, might have expected Welch to give that position up a little bit more easily. But Welch, he's still within his right to fight for it.
Oh, quite right. You know, there was nothing for him to kind of give up on. But, yeah, I'm just stunned. I really am by that. So we're going to give our drivers an opportunity to come and have a chat to us. So they jump onto Discord and wait in the waiting room for us. So there's not obligatory to, but we do like to have a chat with our podium sitters if they wish to give us their insight on. I'd love to hear from some of them because, my goodness me, you just... all bets were off, really. It was so certain for Sam. I'm just baffled on why he felt the need to make the move. But anyway, that's up to the stewards, which I am not one, and quite frankly, I'm glad I'm not one, because that's going to need some unpicking, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness me.
Being a steward in an F1 league, not my idea of fun, I must say. Given the way that it's so unbelievably subjective in all cases as well. Like, it's so difficult to judge. Is he really 25% alongside? Can you say that for, all that sort of stuff, you know? I'm very glad that I have never had that job myself. Yeah, we'll see if there's going to be any drivers hopping into the waiting room in a moment or not. But as you mentioned, yeah, it would be fun to speak to a few of them. Pretty much everyone out there had an eventful race of some description.
And some penalties may well be contested if there was mitigating circumstances as well. So that's why I always say before steward's intervention, that can go in either direction. So, sometimes if you're avoiding an incident and the game deems you have gained an advantage, sometimes you can have those ones appear. That is, of course, up to the stewards. I'm actually gonna call it for very selfish reasons because I actually have places to be. So, funnily enough, this is my first commentary back after leaving hospital last week, and I actually have another one to do straight after this. So, I'm actually going to move on to that one. So, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you very much to those watching the stream, either live or post-event. Always a great pleasure to have you along with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Aladar, Jacob Hancocks, for joining me in the box. It has been a great pleasure to finally work with you after all this time, and a great job. Thank you kindly, sir.
Yeah, thank you very, very much as well. And of course, best of luck with your next commentary that you're about to rush off to as well.
Thank you kindly, good sir. Yes, thank you very much to our drivers for putting on an amazing show, good or bad. Obviously, commiserations to those that didn't see the checkered flag or for whose races didn't go quite the way they would have liked. But my goodness me, what a show they put on for us. So, as for now, that is going to be it. Now, I am not going to be available next week. I know I've missed a few already. But I'm actually on holiday next week, so I will not be available for Portimao, which I'm gutted about because I love that circuit.
Yeah.
So it will not be me, but Jacob will be joined by another streamer for next week. Until then, you know where to find us. It'll be F1 The Big Guns out tomorrow at 7 p.m. at this very channel. So please do tune in for that. There's going to be a lot of amazing racing going on there. Until next time, thank you very much and good night.